Salutations, my name is Summer and this is Sterling Reads, and I want to talk about some 2026 plans. And that's Rollo that you hear. He's got the zoomies tonight. So I had a fantastic reading year, and one of my favorite things that I've read and I am still reading was the Kent Family Chronicles, which is an 8-book series. It's an epic family historical saga. It's just, it gives you every single thing that you could possibly want. I'm over halfway, so this will easily be finished this year. And then I have the final 8th book, The Americans, which I will be reading in January. If I don't get to it a little bit before then, I am like upset that this is ending because I have loved this family and disliked this family, and learned a lot about, not necessarily learned so much, but just have been reminded of things in history that I have heard about before. And I mean, it seems like John Jakes covers everything in history, whether it's Union strikes and the railroad, or you know, things coming out in print, and political things, religious things, the suffragettes, equal, when it comes to slavery, the Civil War. It's just, it's epic. I'm sad it's coming to an end, but it's something that my mom read when she was pregnant with me. I was born in 79, so they started a little before that, and then she continued on with the series. So I've heard about it my whole life, and it took me to be 46 before I finally was reading it, but absolutely loved it. It's been my favorite thing this year. I've read so many good books. I would like to do a top whatever, because I've read new authors and old authors that I love, and yeah, I'm gonna have to look back over my reading year, because I've read over 100 books somehow. I don't know how, but it happened. But in reading so much, I will forget about certain loves that I've had this year, that I would like to be reminded. That's one thing I love about. I do have a book thing where I keep track. It's got cat from cats, but anyway, I do keep track of what I read, and then I'm on Goodreads and Storygraph. Storygraph I love for the graphs. That's a lot of fun. Okay, so anyway, something that I want to complete in 2026 is I just need to read Heaven and Hell. I do not know how I missed this book, and I actually remember the very last thing that had happened in Love and War, and that's why I stopped, was because of something that happened to somebody, and it broke my heart. And so for some reason I felt like I had read this, but I haven't. So this is the end of a trilogy. It's North and South, Love and War, and then Heaven and Hell. So this will be, after I read The Americans and I finish the Kent Chronicles, this will be the book that I get back to, because I loved North and South and Love and War. It is about two different families, two friends from different sides. When the Civil War starts, we have a family from the North and from the South, and how the war affects them and what they do for a living and their family line and all that. If you haven't tried John Jakes and you like historical fiction, I would definitely try him. So something else in 2026 that I'm excited to get back to is my Zola project. So I read the first book in the Rougon Marquette, I can't pronounce, it's French. I don't have the tongue for that. pronunciation. But anyway, it's a 20 book series. I do own some of the books, but I do have the 20 books on my Kindle. I've only read the first book, and I read it with Ariane and Sean D. Standfast. And so I don't know if they'll be reading with me. I'm going to start book 2 in January. Hopefully they will be reading with me, but if not, hopefully we'll catch up with each other at some point throughout the year and talk about the books. But that's something else. So another project that I've been working on this year is my reread of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, and I am on Mimnock the Devil. I want to say this is book 5 in the Vampire Chronicles, but I'm not very far. But this is the time of year that I crave Anne Rice's writing. She has this, I don't know how to explain it. She is slow. Like, she goes into certain details about things that I think most people don't care about. But I think it's beautiful writing. It's immersive. I can get lost, and I definitely can be there. This is with Lestat, who is... I want to just say something rude. But, I mean, you love Lestat, you hate Lestat. He's definitely cocky, you know what. But I'm really enjoying this. And in this book, Lestat, you see more of his humanity, I think. And he is actually scared. And you don't see Lestat scared very often, but he is scared in this book. And it mentions David, the Talamasca. I wish she would have written more about the Talamasca. But anyway, so for 2026, I would like to finish Mimnock the Devil if I don't get it finished this month, because we only have 16 days. And I would like to continue on with the Vampire Armand and Merrick for this year. So it's not like I want to read the whole thing. I'm just wanting to read a couple to continue on with the series this year. So another thing is my King project, which I want to read everything by King, but I don't want to read everything by King. I only have about 10 books that I need to read of his to be done reading all of his stuff. And he is definitely, I love to reread. So I will be, and I'm wanting to read the Tommyknockers, which I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I love that book. There's something about a woman in the woods with her beagle and tripping over something, and then yeah, what it is, and all that. Oh, it was so good. Anyway, I've read it many times. I need to do a reread. It's been what, 15 years or 20 years. So a couple books that I definitely want to read of his is I want to read The Talisman and Black House that he wrote with Peter Straub. Most of the things I haven't read by him are his like bind up collections like this, Full Dark No Stars. Night Shift is another one I want to read. And the funny thing is I have read, every time I pick up a collection of his, I have read some of the stories in the collection. I don't, you know, so it's interesting how you read things here and there and then you find out, oh, it was in this collection. I find that a lot. So I am listening to You Like It Darker, because I do not own it. I have it on my Kindle, but I've been listening to it, which the readers, there's multiple readers, and it's been so wonderful. And right now I'm listening to Rattlesnakes, which is quite a long story, and this short story bind up. And it is about our characters that were in Cujo. So if you've read Cujo, you should go to You Like It Darker and at least read Rattlesnakes, because he has the character, well, he has the father and husband in Cujo, and he talks about Donna, the wife. He talks about their son and what happened. So if you don't know, then you should read Cujo and find out. But he also talks about Duma Key. And I, of course, read Duma Key also. I've only read Duma Key once. So, but I love I love all the connections and everything. And I just finished King Sorrow, and that had mentioned Greg Stilson and John Smith from the Dead Zone, and other things too. Like there's all these connections, and I love the connections. Anyway, so I'm wanting to continue on with my King project. I will be, I mean, yeah, I'm so close, but I don't want to read everything by him this year because I want next year there to be still some things I haven't read. And I know he's always writing things, but I have that. And I will reread him my whole life. So something else that I want to get back to was the Six Tudor Queens. I am on Anne of Cleves, which it was his King Henry VIII's fourth wife. She is one that survives. So I read Catherine of Aragon, who he divorces her, and then Anne Boleyn, he beheads her, and then Jane Seymour, who is actually the only one who was able to give him a living son, she dies. And then this is Anne of Cleves, and I want to get back to this series. You know, it's only 6 books, but yeah, she was. It's a long story, but she was considered the ugly queen, and she was set aside very quickly. I believe she was German. I'm not for sure, but I'll find that out. For some reason, I'm thinking she was, and she was not attracted to him, and King Henry tried to surprise her, like he was young and still had that whatever. And she thought he was just some random, here she's going to meet a king, and some random guy, and of course she's like, no, I'm not interested. Like I want to say she's sold to a king, but that's how it was back then. So anyway, looking forward to that. But clearly when you look at anything in history of her photo, like her drawings or whatever, paintings, she was beautiful. And I mean, they're not going to give King Henry VIII somebody ugly. So another project is the Great American Reads Project. So that was something I've started over 5 years ago. When I started my channel, that was something that I was working on, the Great American Reads. I have read 78 books out of the 100 on the list, and these are the most popular books. They may not be the best written, but they are the most popular. And this year, I'm not going to read all of these, of course, but I would like to read 8 books on the list, and they are The Kite Runner, which I have most of these. This is my to be read of this year shelf. I have The Kite Runner, Great Expectations. I still have not read that by Charles Dickens. Moby Dick, I started, I set it aside. I need to pick it back up. The Godfather, which I do not own, but I would like to read. I'll get it from the library or whatever. A Separate Peace, I have on a bookshelf in the other room. The Sun Also Rises, I have on the bookshelf somewhere. Gulliver's Travels, I have on the bookshelf somewhere. And then Watchers by Dean Koontz, which I do not own any Dean Koontz. I read him when I was a teenager. This is little Prim. She's not been feeling well, so that's nice that she's come to climb on the books and join us. But anyway, yeah, so I would like to, it's a project that is ongoing for years, and there's so many wonderful books that I would not have tried if I hadn't have found that list. So the last thing I want to talk about, I think, is my Jane Austen project. So I had planned on doing, before I talk about that, there's a couple of books that was recommended by you guys years ago. Well, one of them was this year, but another one was years ago. And then I have also books by Joe Buckley that's coming from the library that I plan to squeeze in. But anyway, one of the books that I started and I was loving it, and then I set it aside because sometimes books need more attention, and I also didn't want to get sidetracked from my reading plans of the Kent Chronicles. So, but The Sun in Splendor by Sharon K. Penman. I want to get back to this. Rollo is running around talking, and Mom's dog is barking, Michael. So, lots going on. But yeah, so this is about Richard III when he is a young child, and I'm excited about that. And another book that I'm excited about that I don't really know much, and I actually don't know how to pronounce this name. But anyway, it's A Fine Balance, and I just bought this because this has been recommended a couple different times by commenters. So yeah, A Fine Balance by, I'm not going to pronounce Mystery. I'm not for sure. But I'm really looking forward to this also. Okay, Jane Austen project. So Jane Austen's birthday is today, and 250 years old. And last night when I was deciding, like, what do I want to read for, what do I want to take to work to read, I got back to Emma. So I am on, just started volume 2, chapter 1, which is like 156 pages, so not all that far in. I have not read this in so long, and I had forgotten all those little feels that you get with Emma and Mr. Knightley, and like his disappointment in her, and I felt it too, like, but, and how it affects her. And also she persuades Harriet to not be with a man that is actually like perfect for her, which reminds me of Persuasion, because Anne Elliot in Persuasion is persuaded not to be with Captain Wentworth. So I was thinking, oh, these little connections. And I also think it's funny when there's a Jane character, which we have Jane characters all over the place, right? But I always think, oh, she used her name. So Jane Fairfax is the one in here, or Jane. Oh, so anyway, my whole thing is, I started the beginning of this year, or sometime in this year, I started reading the Jane Austen Book Club again. I've read this many times, but the first month they read Emma. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to read Emma. And once I read Emma, I will move on, and I'm not even sure what the second book is. The second book is in April, and they read Sense and Sensibility. So after I read Emma, I will read what they had to say about Emma, and then I will move on to Sense and Sensibility. And I also have the Jane Austen, The Secret Radical by Helena Kelly. And I read this a long time ago when it first came out, but I didn't read it with the books. And like I said, it's been a long time since I've read Emma. So as soon as I finish reading Emma too, I'm going to go in here and read the chapter on Emma. And so that is that. And there's still a couple books that I want to read because of Jane Austen, that books that she had read. And anyway, I'm excited. I have a lot going on. It's been about 20 minutes, so please let me know what you guys are planning to read in 2026. Do you have any plans? You just want a mood read? I never know if I'm getting distracted by A Suitable Boy, which I started and picked up, and I'm not very far. But that's something that I will be continuing on this month and into January. But I'm taking it slow, just reading a little bit at a time. I got little Tim. Did you want to say hi? Anyway, let me know what your plans are. Are you excited about 2026 in reading? Did you have a good reading year this year? Or what was your favorite book? Like, I love hearing about people's plans and what they loved and all that stuff. So anyway, I hope you're staying warm or staying cool depending on where you're at. And I hope you have happy holidays. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.